Welcome back. President-elect Trump spent a lot of time on the campaign trail claiming that he was going to knock the living spit out of ISIS.
And together we knock the hell out of ISIS. That would be great, right? That would be great, right? Focused on destroying ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism. I would bomb the shit out of them.
There it is. But now the United Nations Special Envoy to Syria is begging Trump to avoid going down the rabbit hole in that war-torn nation, saying increased U.S. military involvement could make the situation even worse, particularly if the U.S. teams up with Russia, as President-elect Trump has said that he is open to do. All right, so should the incoming Trump administration get ready for war, or should we stay the heck out? Joining me now is the former Navy SEAL who killed Osama bin Laden, Fox News contributor Rob O'Neill. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you for having me, Kennedy.
So this is quite a turd storm that Russia and Syria have created in Aleppo.
This is a storm that's been waiting to happen for a long time, has been happening for 1,400 years, and a lot of it is, right now what Russia's not doing is based on religion. Russia's more based on, they have their one naval base in the Mediterranean is in Syria. Yeah. And they've had, like they signed an agreement for 20 years in 1980, I think, where they're going to be friends. It was like Friends in Cooperation, it was called. So they're not religiously based like the Iranians are, like the Islamic State is Daesh, or Al-Qaeda, or al-Nusra, all those ones fighting, and even Assad at some
fighting
point.
Each other.
They're fighting each other. Well, then don't forget the Kurds, too. So the Kurds are in there. They're involved in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq.
Do you consider the Kurds our allies?
Some of the Kurdish guys, yes. Some no. But that's kind of like anywhere. I mean,
but that's
we have
pretty much everything in the Middle East. So let's take Aleppo, where you have this humanitarian crisis, and you have the special envoy who's calling for Aleppo to be deemed autonomous at this point.
The special envoy, he's a really smart man. He speaks like 5 languages, but he's always on the wrong side of most arguments. There was a thing right before the bin Laden raid in 2011. I bring that up because that made bigger headlines. But there was a pastor in Florida who burnt a Quran, so then they went and murdered like 11 people in Afghanistan. I think a lot of 7 of them were UN. And this same guy said, well, you know, the guys that murdered him aren't at fault. It's the guy that burnt the Quran. It's his fault. So he's kind of just a backwards thinking type guy.
But that was the same mentality with the phony baloney talking points about the video after Benghazi.
Oh, well, sure, yeah. And that's their other point.
All right, so should the UN be dictating our foreign policy to a president who hasn't even
the UN shouldn't
be
dictating it, but it's a tough one, too, because you've got there's 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, us, the Brits, France, Russia, and China.
Russia's problematic there.
And guess what happens? One veto, it's over. You know, they've tried to do some stuff before where they're going to get rid of Bashar al-Assad, who was obviously the president of Syria. Russia vetoes it. China vetoes it. It's over. So we're going to need to use the UN at some point, too, but I think ultimately...
Would you work with Russia, though? I mean, would you, if you were President-elect Trump, what would you do specifically about Aleppo right now?
I'm very fortunate to be in a spot where I don't need to make this decision, but right now we're seeing President-elect Trump put people there that hopefully can make a good decision. Inevitably, they need to try to find a way to semi-negotiate with Russia without becoming an ally of Iran, and they have interest, the Russians, in having Assad or someone like Assad in there. Somehow you need to put someone in there that's like Assad, that kind of likes Russia, that can keep the Iranians out, that can still, maybe we fight the Islamic State even. It's very, very complex.
But the idea of putting someone in there and us doing it, that seems like, you know, we're poking another hornet's nest.
Yes, well,
and it's expensive, and it's deadly. It's deadly for us.
Oh, it is
deadly for them.
It's deadly for a lot of them over there, too. But we're actually learning, if you look at Libya, you look at Iraq, you look at Syria, some places over there, they just need to have dictators until they're ready for democracy that we cannot instill in them.
Now, you were the man, and you know that you killed Osama bin Laden, correct? Do you ever worry for your personal safety?
No, I'm aware of it. Worrying, I don't think does much good, and being afraid, I've dealt with them before. Just being aware of what could potentially happen, not getting complacent, because it's the time when, you know, the whole, they need to be right once, you need to be right 1,000 times. You just need to be ready when it comes. I've seen it come before. I've dealt with everything from people shooting at me to suicide bombers. It's fast. It happens.
But in your civilian life, when you're walking around New York, what does your awareness look like?
Just, I'm always a big believer to have guns when you can, have people that have guns when you can, and just, they're simple little things. I'm not going to get into any of the tactics or anything like that, or where I don't talk about my movement or where I go, but just an awareness that it's out there. But again, a lot of these people, they don't necessarily want to spend the time on a point target like someone like me or a Medal of Honor recipient or someone in the limelight that happens to be a commentator. They want the spectacular attack at a parade where they can get hundreds of people. They're looking for that. So, I mean, it's not a lot of fun to talk about.
Thanksgiving Day parade coming up. But I love your honesty and your analysis. Thanks so much for coming by so we can talk about some of the stuff, because I know you study it all day long.
All day. It's fascinating. It's just a lot going on.
Yeah, and what you have done for this country is beyond words, so I'm not even going to try and describe it. Thank you, Rob.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very good.